Hi, and welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Liz Willis, and I have another special guest here with us, spokesperson for Veterans for Trump. So I'm going to hand it over to him, let him introduce himself, and tell us a little about yourself.
Well, thank you, Liz. I'm Rear Admiral Chuck Kubic. I served for about 34 years. I was a Navy Seabee.
Well, thank you.
And commanded all the construction troops that were attached to the Marines when we invaded Iraq. But now I'm a spokesman for Veterans for Trump. And the Veterans for Trump organization actually started on somewhat of an ad hoc basis when he was still seeking the nomination in 2015. In 2016, he asked me to be one of his national security advisors, and our group of Veterans for Trump has expanded ever since until now.
It's huge.
We're reaching out to almost 20 million people.
I see.
Now.
I hate to interrupt you. I'm
That's
just
okay.
so fascinated. There's a million questions. But at every single rally, I see hundreds of Veterans for Trump merchandise type thing, whether it's on people's shirts or hats.
Well, we started by actually helping to augment his security force before he had Secret Service and helping direct the crowds and to work, and it just kind of built upon itself.
Nothing better than a security force of
Right.
veterans.
And what we're doing now is we're trying to expand and reach out to first responders. And so we're looking at having the organization still remain as a Veterans for Trump organization, but expand the outreach to we who served. And in doing that, what we're really focusing on is the helping veterans transition. Some need different levels of help. Some really don't need much. But we're working on really 4 pillars. One is to help them with housing, jobs, health, and also to reestablish their faith. If they've moved away from a church or a congregation, we found that for their own well-being and transition, if they move into a community and join a congregation, their ability to transition and succeed is going to be much better.
It's like having friends or anyone to support you, friends, family. But
exactly. But what we're also doing is trying to reach out to veterans who have transitioned, and we need their voice. We're in what I would call an information civil war right now. We're under attack, and veterans, know their country. They've fought for their country. They've been mission focused, and I would say 99% of them never knew the politics of those who they were with. But they
risking their life for.
Exactly, and so we need them to have the courage now and to feel that someone has their back. They don't have to remain silent. They can speak out when they see cancel culture happening, when they see their schools not being open, when they see the woke mentality trying to take over their city council. We need them to band together to speak out, and they can basically align with us by just going to veteransfordonaldtrump.com. We've got a lot of information there. We've got a video that explains what we are, but we need them. We need their help, not only to help their brother and sister veterans transition, but to help us make sure this country keeps moving in the right direction.
We would be nothing without our veterans. So thank you for your service, and to everyone else at home. Would you say what type of organization technically? Is it a 501c3?
We have
or
both.
How does that...
We have a C3 and a C4.
Okay.
So depending upon whether it's a charitable contribution to be deducted, give to our C3, or political action, you can give to our C4.
Cool. So, tax season is right around the corner. If you guys need to make those donations, great way to do it. But President Trump, a lot of his supporters are the military, involved in the military, and he's really been outspoken to support veterans. Have you noticed a shift in the veterans that you've met in terms of their mental well-being to have a commander-in-chief at the time who supported them so boldly?
100%.
Do they feel that?
100%. When I was still on active duty under the prior administration, the thing that I think cost more lives than anything were the restricted rules of engagement that we had to operate under, even though we were in a combat zone. And where President Trump kind of flipped the equation in terms of national security, where we see just recently we got hit, we pricked them back a little bit, and we try to use the military first. Trump's approach was, let's use the economy first. Let's go after them economically. And once we get them paying attention, we then send in our diplomats to try to deal with them one-on-one. And if economics and diplomacy fails, we then bring our military in. But if we fight, we always fight to win.
Absolutely.
And that's the big difference. And veterans knew that exactly, that their
kind of
president
starving them out first.
right had their back when they had to fight.
Wonderful. Now, I think there's something like, I want to say 23 veterans a day who die from suicide. Is that statistic about correct?
It had been 22, but I wouldn't surprise me if it's 23 now.
I'm kind of bad with numbers. Most of y'all know that already. But what do you think is the biggest impact that is causing this to happen?
They're lonely, and they don't feel appreciated. You know, they sacrificed a big part of their lives. Sometimes they came back and were not able to get a job. Sometimes they came back and their families were broken up, but they feel despair. And that's why we're trying to help them with the housing. They can get a house, even if it's a small rental unit. They can get a job. We make sure if they have health issues, they can get that taken care of. But again, I come back to faith.
Absolutely.
They need to do that, but they feel alone. They feel left out. They don't know which way to move. They just need other veterans and to come to their aid, and that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. I can see, veterans, of course, they risk their lives for our country, so it's so important that is a number one priority. But even just in general, it's so important for people to be surrounded, to have faith, to be surrounded by loved ones, and people, encouraging you to have some sort of calling. It just makes you feel better about yourself in general.
And a sense of purpose, sense of mission.
Exactly. I completely agree with that. I can't not work, because even me, not being a veteran, not having PTSD, I get sad, so I feel that for them. President Trump, one of my favorite accomplishments that he spoke about a lot on the campaign trail, and it has to do with the VA. So from what I understand, if you were a veteran, you'd come back and they'd say, you're going to have to wait 3 months. And by that time, you're dead, your leg is infected, whatever it may be. It's late. You don't want to wait 3 months when you're sick. So I don't know the name of the bill or what it was, but I know something along the lines you can go get your own doctor now.
What he did was 3 things, really. The first thing was there was a backlog of paperwork in this bureaucracy just to get your VA disability rating, to be eligible for the treatment.
It makes no sense what they had to do.
And a lot of it was based on people appealing. It was clogged. There were bureaucrats who weren't motivated. He broke that all up. He changed that process and all of the second thing he did was he made it possible to fire people who weren't performing in the VA.
You should always be able to fire someone.
Doing that, but the most important thing he did, you mentioned it, is he said if there is a backlog, that's fine. If we're using our facility to the max, but the veteran should then be able to go to a private doctor. Exactly. And that the combination of those 3 things, streamlining the paperwork, firing the incompetent, and allowing people to use private health care was a lot. What most people find is once they got into the system, they were motivated, they got good treatment, but it was hard to get in. Mm-hmm. And now we've kind of balanced that, and let's hope that that doesn't get changed by the current administration. And I really do have a warning to veterans, because with the things that they're doing, it would not be beyond comprehension that at some point in time they would come after the veterans. Cut funding, do whatever, change regulations. And we need to be really a solid voice. We need to seize the narrative in the country and not allow them to destroy us with their woke culture and their, trying to cancel veterans.
That would be absolutely awful, but thank you again for coming in. We're going to wrap it up. I want you to remind our viewers where they can find more information about veterans for Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's simple. Just veteransfordonaldtrump.com. Go there. There's all kinds of information. There's all kinds of videos, and it also shows where you can help and whether you could donate either to our C3 or our C4, and we appreciate all the support.
Thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Liz.